So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. This is the Real Estate Underground podcast, show number 81. Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. It's Ed Matthews with the Real Estate Underground. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I am really excited because this lady that I'm interviewing, Casey Franchini, is someone who lives in the single family world. And obviously that's my past life. I'm a multifamily geek now, but the fact is that, so Casey runs Brick by Brick Wealth, as well as the coaching program, Success with Rental Properties. And so Casey, welcome to the show. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Ed. I have been looking forward to this all week. Yeah,
cool. Me too. So, I've been kind of paying attention online. I follow you on Instagram, and I've been paying attention on LinkedIn, and which is typically where I find, professionals like you. So I know your story, or at least some of it. So for those out there who don't know who you are, why don't you kind of walk through what your story is and how'd you get here?
Sure. So I kind of started off in the real estate space a long time ago. I guess it's just always been something I've been interested in. When I was, in 8th grade, my dad bought a crack house on a VA loan, and we moved into that, and it was a 10-year fixer-upper.
Oh my God.
So, many trips to Home Depot. They didn't even have Lowe's at the time, but I hated the trips, but I learned a lot about rehabbing houses. And I went through college, got my degree in communications and business, and got my first real job, and started that hour-and-a-half commute, left in the morning in the dark, came home in the dark, crying on the way home, like, sucks. This sucks. Is this what, you worked so hard for your whole life?
40 years of that?
Could you, I know you could imagine people do it all the time. And I said, this is not what I thought being a grown-up was going to be all about.
Right.
So thankfully, sad but true, but the company shut down because great company, but the owner was in some sneaky, weird things, and the FBI came and seized all the assets. It was really kind of neat.
Way more exciting.
So anyway, I didn't have a job. So there's info online for that. But I realized
to be
that
clear,
that
you weren't
was my
involved with
sign.
any of that, right?
No. It was his own personal issue. His own personal issues.
Yeah.
So the company was no longer. That was my sign that this 9-to-5 life was not for me. And my dad had always kind of told me, Casey, you got to forge your own path. Don't follow the herd of cows. Do your own thing.
Right on.
Don't be like everybody else, and don't do the 9-to-5. And then I get my mom. I'm a nurse. You need to have a 9-to-5. You need to have a stable income for your family, blah, blah. So I'm hearing both sides of the table. And so company shuts down. This is my chance. I'm getting engaged to my now husband. And I say, I don't want a real job. Yikes. So I go be a real estate agent because I love houses. I helped my dad rebuild, ours for the past 10 years. I watched that thing go down, and I know a lot about houses. And for some reason, I just love looking at them. Every open house, every new build, I'm there. That's what I want to do in my free time.
Right.
So I'm living in Southern California, and I'm in my early 20s, and I look like I'm 16 years old. So imagine 16-year-old looking girl wants to be the listing agent for your $1 million house in Orange County. Not happening. So that kind of sucked. And so I found my niche with flippers, and through a referral from one of my real estate agent friends. And I started helping flippers find, investors find flips to buy. Because I would drive all around California and find them deals on the MLS. So that's kind of how I got into real estate and the investing side. And it wasn't until we moved to Memphis, though, a few years later, about 7 years later, that I actually started buying single family rental properties. I was then tired of being the buyer's agent and doing all the driving. So I moved here with 2 little kids and said, I'm not going to be a real estate agent. And I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. It's like my husband got this job out here, and he took me away from my mommy and my daddy and my sister and all my friends. So I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm getting my house with a pool, and I'm going to live my life. And so that was great until, reality started setting in that being a mom is great, but I need more. And I went to school all that time and I need to make money. And I'm not built to be only a stay-at-home mom. And so, but I want to be a stay-at-home mom. So what can I do? How can I have my cake and eat it too? And that's when I said, okay, Blake, it's really time to take it serious and actually start buying rental properties so we can have income, like they say, while you sleep, you're making money. So I can still be present with my kids at home and still be a room mom and do all those things, but still make an income.
Yep.
That's kind of how that started.
Well, that's awesome. It's interesting. So, and I hear you about the 9 to 5, right? I spent like 25 years. So I'm a lot older than you, but I spent like 25 years, flying all over the country and in some cases all over the world. I was gone like 150, 200 nights a year. And it's really hard to be, I have 2 girls. It's really hard to be a significant piece of their life and have an impact on their lives, from a Courtyard Marriott somewhere in the Midwest. Right. And so, that was my thing. Is it started off as a side hustle. I was flipping. And so this is why I was excited, because I don't really get to talk to a lot of folks that are into the single family, whether you're flipping or renting or whatever. Right. I love the chase. I love the design. I love the project and doing the work. I'm not the one doing the work, but I'm managing the work. I love, in my case, selling them. And now multifamily wise, I love renting them. Right. And so it's amazing the impact you can have on a neighborhood, a community, a family, that, you go and buy something really well, make it beautiful, and then hand it to a family, whether they're buying it or renting it, to then, live their lives. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And so now, we buy rentals and we fix them up ourselves. And, Blake and I, oh my gosh, you can't even walk in our garage without tripping over a tool. So you better be careful. It's not a saw blade, because that's happened.
Blake's my kind of guy.
We just have everything, every tool known to mankind. And we do fix them ourselves, after working on the weekends, and seeing the before and after is great. And I'll say we're a little, unique because we do a pretty good job with our rental properties, a little bit more than most people would do. But I aim for that higher quality tenant in the neighborhood because I want my property to rent first. I want it to rent first, and I want it to stay rented. So we'll make it the nicest we can, right? We're not going to go crazy. We're going to make it the nicest we can to make sure that we cash flow and we don't overspend, and always kind of price it slightly below market so that we retain our tenants and they don't leave us for someplace cheaper. Right.
Yeah. It's interesting, so we do the same thing from an apartment building perspective. And, the thing that I buy into, and clearly you do as well, is that if you give them a nice, clean, safe place where they can be proud to live, they stay forever. And it's wonderful because vacancies, particularly in the single family world, are really expensive. Right. So,
it's definitely going to be a month of vacancy. You're going to have to advertise, take 2 weeks, and you're not going to take your first applicant who wants to move in tomorrow. And it might be they move in on the 1st of the next month.
Right.
So it's definitely takes a bigger hit, but you're not getting I don't feel like that turnover is high when you have a quality area. And my tenants, most of them stay for 4 years,
that's huge.
We're on the 5th year for a couple of them. And so we like to do 2-year agreements. So the longer they want to stay, the better for me.
The other thing you said that I want to kind of shine a light on is when you make them, kind of zhuzh them up a little bit, right? They don't stay on the market because then you become the standard of what they're comparing other houses to, and you go under lease or under contract a little bit faster, right? So, because the last thing you want to do is accumulate days on market, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. So in terms of your business, I'm curious. So where are you looking to take this?
My real estate business?
Yeah, let's start with your real estate business. We'll talk coaching in a minute.
So, we used to have the goal of we want 10 properties. And if we have 10 properties at $1,000 a month, when they're paid off, we'll bring in about $100,000 a year. That was kind of the goal. And we met the $100,000 a year rental income goal on property 6. And I'm like, how did that happen? Well, first of all, over the course of time, this is like 6 years we've been doing this or whatever. rent prices have gone up. Like the average rent isn't $1,000 anymore, like it was when I started. Out here in Memphis, the average rent now for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath is about $1,200 a rent.
Nice.
So, and that's like a C grade, just rent ready property.
Sure.
Our better properties, and then obviously neighborhoods, like our highest rented property is $1,600 a month. And the one that we bought a few weeks ago will be $1,700. We're in contract with another one, and that one will be $1,700. So property values and, rents have gone up. So we've easily met our initial goal, like play with less properties because rent appreciation and also rental increases.
Right.
And, Blake's like, now he wants to pay some off. And because they have low balances. And I'm like, no, because they have low balances, but we can just use that money we have for another down payment. Like, I'm not quite ready to pay them off. So he's like, well, when are you ever going to be satisfied? I'm like, I'm a woman, never satisfied. I'm only 40. I'm not ready to, quote, retire and live on our rental income. Like, I want to buy more. So I always think, where am I going to take my business desk? Do I want to do multifamily? Do I want to do some syndications? Do I want to? And I'm just like, I don't think so. Maybe syndications one day, because it's very passive and you still get all the tax benefits.
Sure.
But for me, I think we're just going to keep buying single families until we can't anymore. I think I'm always just going to want to buy properties. And the other day I was telling them, I was like, our addiction, our habit is buying houses. When we have money, what do? We go buy a house.
Right.
What do my neighbors do? They go to Disney World.
Right. Or they buy a car.
Right. So, or go buy a new car. So I'm like, I don't think that's a bad habit, is it? Like, buying a house when you have some money, that's what we do. So I think we'll always probably do that. We've had our bad experiences, of course,
sure.
But, every time you go through an experience, you learn, you get better, and you make less and less mistakes.
Right.
And you get a harder and harder, tougher and tougher skin, yes. Especially when you landlord like I do.
Yeah. Same.
And you learn how to do it better and better and more effectively each time. So I'm not sure if we have a goal anymore. I think my goal is to just keep buying properties until I can't.
Until you don't.
Yeah, until I don't anymore. Until I'm over it.
Yeah, somebody was asking me a while, not that long ago. Hey, so I'm 53, so I'm a little bit older than you, a lot older than you. But they were asking, well, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, retire? Like, I don't know what. I don't see me ever retiring. And
it's retirement, isn't it?
Fun. Why wouldn't I? Yeah. Why would I stop having fun? Right?
Exactly.
Until I find something else that, floats my boat more than what I'm doing today, I'm going to keep doing it. Right. Even if it's just one deal a year. I mean, why not? Right. Like I said, it's, I refer to my old flipping business that we dialed back a couple of years ago. I was like, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Flipping is my cocaine. Right. It's just, I can't get enough. And I desperately miss it, to be honest. But it comes down to, I think, probably the calculus that you and Blake went through as well, which was that, in order to build wealth, you've got to hold on to them and create cash flow and, at some point pay them off. But, the other thing that you said that it was really interesting to me was the conversation about, do we pay it off or not? Right. So, you mentioned you started about 6 years ago, and the interest rates back then were, what were they, in the 2s, 3s? And
well, you could refinance, and investment loans weren't really getting that, but we did get like a 4.5, I think,
Still phenomenal. Because that same rate is now an 8 or 9, right?
Yeah. And 7.5 for today's interest rates for investors.
Yeah.
With a Fannie Freddie loan,
right. With
a good FICO score.
Right.
And a W-2 job.
Yeah. So that's the hard part is so.
SCR loan. Yeah. 8 to 9.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't have a W-2. That's where they go.
Yeah.
No joy for Ed. But I mean, it's why not just take that? If you have $1 and you're paying 4% interest, or you could turn around and invest that $1 and make 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 plus return over the course of 10 to 30 years, it's right. You've got to think about that in terms of what's right for you and your family. But the fact is that, me, I go buy another building. So
Yeah. For me, our houses are our bank accounts. Now, I
Right.
have a bank account, but I don't consider, I mean, I want to get rid of the money in my bank account as fast as possible,
Right.
especially when the bank gives me 0.01% and
Right.
inflation is like 6 to 9% or whatever it is nowadays. It's like
Right.
I'm losing so much money.
You are.
My cash is dwindling sitting in my bank account. So I need to put it in my other bank account, AKA my rental properties, because that, the real estate values rise with inflation and
Right.
I won't lose money keeping it there. And, it's got like my little pots of gold all over the city. And as
Absolutely.
long as I keep them nice and I keep good tenants in there, my asset will grow and it'll be fine and it will
Yeah.
be my retirement fund when I'm old.
Exactly. So when you're looking at renting out to somebody, what's kind of the process, at least at a high level, that you evaluate, somebody, a potential family who's looking to move into one of your properties?
So there's a few criteria that I just don't deviate from. And I don't care if it takes me 3 months to find somebody.
Right.
I have learned the hard way that no tenant is better than a bad tenant. And even though I've always said that, I didn't even follow my own advice.
Right. Right.
I put in a tenant and I didn't even check her credit score. And I do that now.
Yeah.
So some hard and fast rules that I am a stickler to is you must make 3 times the rent.
Yep.
That's a hard, like that's a disqualifier right off the bat.
Right.
3 times the rent. And depending upon the area, I have properties in B and C class neighborhoods. And the B class neighborhoods, I require a better FICO score than my C class neighborhoods. They have better quality finishes in them, like granite countertops and
Yep.
things like that, and newer cabinets that I don't want destroyed.
Right.
So there's a FICO score requirement there. Also, no bankruptcies, no evictions.
Yep.
And those are really the hard and fast ones. There's other little things that I really try for. Like I try for no pets. And that's really on a case by case basis. And if I like the person, because I've had great pet owners and I've had terrible pet owners, and everyone tells me their dog is amazing. So,
So I'm very much a dog person, right? And so what I do is when I'm meeting with a potential resident, I want to meet their dog too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I'm a kind of a tall, imposing figure, so I get down, cross my legs and literally get on the ground and just see if I can make friends. And that's just as important as walking through the property and figuring, and asking the prospective resident questions about, where they're coming from and why they're moving and all the things you ask, right? Both are interviews for sure.
Yeah. I
Right?
do heavy tenant screening up front over the phone. Since I manage my own, I'm not going to drive out for showings and no shows.
Right.
And really, I only try and show the property to someone that I would already rent to. So I'll talk to them on the phone. I will ask them my slew of questions.
Yep.
And if they pass that initial phone interview, then I'm like, okay, if everything they say is true, if it can be validated and backed up by their application and everything that they're saying is true, then I will rent to them. So if the phone combo is good, I set a time to meet them to rent, and I will definitely check out their car, make sure they show up on time, see if they smell like smoke. Well, I'm not a smoker, but I smell like smoke. Give me a break, okay? I wasn't born yesterday,
Yep.
so
Born in the morning, but it
happened
wasn't this
multiple
morning.
times. Oh, we're quitting. Okay, no,
Okay.
we'll smoke outside for the first 5 days. You will, and then you'll stop.
Yeah, as soon as it gets
be inside
cold.
smoker at nighttime.
Right.
So, yeah, no smoking is also a big one. If I smell smoke, because smoke is so expensive to get rid of, you have to paint the whole place. And if there's carpet, it has to be removed. And even then you paint the place top to bottom, shine the floors.
You never get it.
It's going to smell like smoke for 6 months.
Yep.
I mean, so I'm not a fan of smoking.
Yeah. And, frankly, if they're like me, I can smell nicotine or tobacco from a mile away. I don't care if you had a cigarette, today or last week, I can still smell it. And
my husband can't smell anything. And he's like, I think it smells fine in here. I'm like, are you kidding? They're definitely smoking in here.
Yeah. So, okay. So, so I want to get into the coaching thing. So when you are talking with folks who are, I with love, I refer to them as the dreamers, right? It's the folks that stop you at the grocery store or at the car wash or whatever going, hey, I saw you online and man, I wish I had time to do what you do. And, the answer to that comment is always, well, what's stopping you, right? And so, the idea of providing coaching, and I think you do one-on-one coaching, which is even better, right? I tell people I'm a cheap date. I'll buy them, a cup of coffee, and in the half an hour that we're together, I'll tell you everything I know about what you want to do, right? But having a formalized education process and having a mentor like day one has got to be invaluable. So why don't we talk about the coaching program, and let's get into that a little bit.
Sure, I'd love to. So I have a one-on-one coaching program. It's called Success with Rental Properties, and it's my pride and joy, and I love it because I get to help aspiring real estate investors get out of that stage you were just talking about and actually be real investors. A lot of the things that hold people back from moving forward and actually taking action is a couple things. They're scared and their lack of knowledge. They don't have that validation that any decision they make is going to be right. So they don't make a decision. They just don't because they're not sure. People who join my program who have been in many group programs, taken lots of online courses, read a lot of books, watched videos, spent maybe 2 years doing research, but never taken the next step. So something powerful about my program is that it's one-on-one. I hold you accountable and I help you the whole way through personally so you don't get stuck and stop making progress.
Right.
So my program is 5 months. It's 5 months long. And the whole entire goal, the whole point of it is to get you from owning no properties to closing and cash flowing on the first one. So I'll help you all the way through to cashing your first rent check, from understanding financing to market research. Like a lot of my students are out-of-state investors, and I help them invest anywhere in the United States and teach you how to learn a market. Understanding rehab, going through all of that, picking a property manager or landlording yourself. So there's a lot of stages and a lot of things to learn and get right. And a lot of people that start off, worked really hard to save their money for their down payment.
Right.
And it would really set them back and be just devastating if they made a huge decision like buying a rental property and bought something that wasn't fruitful. Like you can't just sell that, without losing a lot of money. So I'm really there to help them the whole way, be successful with their first one, get the tools and the knowledge, and then they are out on their own and can just repeat the process for number 2, 3, 4, and so
Check them out of the nest and away they fly, right? Awesome. Yeah. So, one of the things when, I used to be one of the partners at the local here in Connecticut, the Connecticut Real Estate Investors Association. And when we took over the organization, they were, there were like 600 or so students from their coaching program, and I asked the owner that we were taking over from, how many of those. I'm just curious, how many of those students have actually gone out and bought a property and are executing. And, the person said probably 5%. I'm like, wow, really? So, me, like I'm a software guy. So adoption was a huge thing in my world, right? I was fascinated by it. And I started doing homework and I realized that that's not a Connecticut real estate problem, a real estate investors problem. That's pervasive, right? That's, you go and buy this guru or that professional or whoever, the numbers are about the same. Like, most people will go to the show, we'll go to the events, we'll hop on the webinars, we'll read the books, we'll listen to the books, we'll go on the podcasts and listen to them, and then nothing. So I love the fact that you do a one-on-one and hold them accountable because, I've told this story on previous episodes that, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in 2008, and it fundamentally changed my life. 3 years later, it took me 3 years to get the courage to actually sign on the dotted line and buy my first property. And it was 100% fear, right? On multiple levels, fear, afraid of a lot of things, not just, hey, what if I screw up? It's, hey, what if I screw up? Hey, what if I, don't get the right tenants? Hey, what if I'm spending too much money on rehab? All those things, right? And the fact that, your program has a one-on-one component that is, built-in mentor as well as accountability partner is huge, because that's actually, if I ever do a coaching program, I'm gonna borrow that concept, because that's a really good idea.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
I mean, it's all I can do to guarantee their success is really be there to help them the whole way, so that they don't, they don't quit on themselves.
Right. You're doing your part, and they've got to do theirs. Right. And that's, it takes two to dance. Right. And so, they've got to put in the work. They've got to, commit to, educating themselves,
show up and do the homework, show up and do the next step.
Right.
They don't have to look too far ahead and, know how to do all the steps or know what they even are. I will tell you, as one comes along, this is what you do next. This is what you do next. So it's not overwhelming, and you can feel accomplishments, every week, and making progress. And it's great. And I love it. It takes a lot of my time. I will tell you, it takes a lot of time. But it's very rewarding. It's like when back in the day, I used to love event planning, and through high school and college, I would plan events. Like, that was what I did. And, because I love to see something come from nothing. I love to see the finished result, know, and that's what I get with my students. I get to take people that have never maybe even owned a house before. I have a lot of students in California who live in, like high expensive markets and rent, never bought a property before, and they're going to buy their first rental property. Their first property ever is going to be a rental and out of state. Right. Like, that's hard. Like, whoa, and so they go from, I could never do this, to I'm going to do this, to actually doing it. And now they have this life-changing skill that's going to get them out of this, having to work until they're 70 years old, because they can now use their high income or whatever they have, their income, to start saving for down payments, buy more and more and more properties. Right. And like, it just sets you free, So I love it.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I have my own theories, but I'm curious what yours are. When you meet people and you're trying to evaluate, okay, are they a good fit? Are you a good fit for them? Are they a good fit for your program? Right. What do you think separates the folks who buy in, show up, and execute, right, from the ones that, I was referring to, the 95 percenters, and I'm going to coin that phrase actually from here on out, that, would love to do it, just can't get over that hump of courage?
I mean, I think, what I will say, when people make the decision to join my program, it's not like super cheap, so it's, if there's a financial commitment, so they're like, okay, well, I paid for this, I'm going to do it. Right. I require them to come in with a down payment for their rental property and a loanable FICO score. So they have to show me that they already have a down payment. It can come, they don't have to like prove it to me. I mean, I'll take their word for it, but they have to either have, cash saved, or have enough in their 401k to borrow, or have equity in their home. I'll help them get a HELOC. But it's one of those 3 things that they have to have. It can be a combo. So they have to have money for a down payment. So that can't be an excuse of, I don't have any money. And then they have to have a 680 or above FICO score, because I want them to be able to get a loan. I don't want there to be no question about it. They'll be like, they don't even need a job. There's other loan options, but you have to have money for a down and closing costs, and you have to have a FICO score. So there's really no excuse for them at that point. They paid the money, they joined my coaching program, they have the funds available to buy a rental property. Right. So now they're only going to embarrass themselves if they don't show up to our meetings. And that doesn't disappoint themselves, right? Yeah, that's right. So the success rates are really high, because people are not going to email me, oh, Casey, I'm not going to make our meeting. Right. They're I can tell they'll do the work 3 days in advance, 2 days in advance, because I can tell when they've done the work last minute, because it got done. Or, I talked to the lender yesterday. Of course you did, because you knew we were meeting today. Right. Because they didn't want to go eyeball to eyeball. Yeah, because they're going to have to answer me, do their homework. Did you do it? Yeah. And so they get it done. And they're like, and at the end of every 5-month program, when they're all done, and I ask them for a testimonial video, and of course they say yes. And I say, what benefited you the most from my program? And they say, what was accountability? I wouldn't have done it if you
100%.
hadn't held me accountable. And honestly, when I started this whole thing, I never thought that would be the biggest benefit.
But it is.
You know,
And, you know,
but it is.
the fact is that is by far the biggest challenge, right? Yeah, I mean, the fact that you do one-on-one and I have to sit in front of you on Thursday afternoon and have a conversation with Casey, and man, I don't want to come empty-handed. Oh, I don't want to do that. Right. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So, you know, along the lines of mentors, right? I'm sure you've had, I mean, obviously your dad was one, and I'm sure you've had others along the way. You know, I'm curious about the folks that have kind of thrown an arm around you and helped you. And more specifically, I'm curious about the best advice you ever got.
The best advice I've ever got. I mean, I would have to say it was my dad. You know, he grew up, when I grew up,
yep.
his young adult life was being an aspiring entrepreneur.
Yep.
And he tried a lot of different things. He didn't really quite make it, you know, like he wanted to, which always makes me sad. But he always tried. And that's why I do what I do today. And if it weren't for him, I would not be here. My sister is she's 10 years younger than me, and she is more successful than most people you probably know. I am so proud of her.
Awesome.
And it's all from our dad, you know? Yep. And when I would just ingrain in me over and over again is, you know, don't follow the herd, go the other way, make your own path.
Right.
You know, you're unique. You can do whatever you want to do if you just believe in yourself.
Right.
You have all the tools and you can do it. You know, just instilling the confidence and not letting the naysayers get to you.
Right.
You know, because there's so much social pressure out there, especially now that there's social media.
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you, like, we don't have some massive portfolio, and I teach coaching. I have an Instagram and I have a presence online. And it's still hard. I still feel imposter syndrome because I'm not one of those huge gurus with the Lamborghinis flashing my 400 apartment complexes.
Right.
You know, like I'm still small.
Right.
And it's hard to not want to chase cash flow and chase a number of doors. Right. It's hard to not give into the social pressure. But I know that my lane is the right lane, that I'm doing what I need to do. I know what I'm doing is best for me. Yep. And I can't let anybody infiltrate and cause me to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the fact that you're so right about that, the fact is that the reason that, you know, the naysayers exist is because they're afraid. Right. And so they're trying to get you to come into their, you know, fear bubble. And the fact that, you know, you reject that is wonderful. And I'm going to challenge you on one thing. So being a girl dad myself, right?
Yep.
The fact that you and your sister are as successful as you are, he did succeed. He nailed it, as a matter of fact.
That's what we tell him.
Right. So it doesn't matter. Right. The fact that, you know, during the holidays, when he sees the two of you come in your Lamborghinis or whatever you drive, I don't know what you drive, but, you know, the fact is that that's what he cares about. And I know that because that's, you know, I'm that guy too. So, anyway, so let me ask you, you know, in terms of growth, right? Because obviously, you know, one of the things, like I had a mentor of mine, you know, it was on the technology and services side. But he told me, he's like, look, you know, part of what you do is you think for other people, right? And you boil that information and that knowledge down to digestible pieces so that they can consume it, learn, and go do it themselves, right? And then they're going to learn, and then hopefully they pay it forward at some point as well. And so I'm curious about really two things. One, you know, how do you consume information? You know, podcasts, audiobooks, real, you know, tangible, actual books, conferences, whatever. I'm curious how you consume information and how you sharpen that saw. And the other thing is, I'm also curious. I'm always looking to find the next person to read, right? I'm a voracious reader. So who are you paying attention to?
So for my learning, I will say I've never read a real estate book before, ever. except for when I got my real estate broker license
Okay.
a long time ago in 2007. Of course, I had to, go to school for that,
Yeah.
online, whatever. It was actually in-person school at the time.
Yep.
So I read those real estate books, but otherwise, and I bought some Bigger Pockets books because I'm going to read them. And, I really have not.
Appreciate your honesty.
One day I will.
Someday.
I think I started listening to one on private money, but
Oh yeah, Matt Faircloth's book. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Yep.
But the books and stuff that I do read, is I'm really into personal development. I have felt like the thing that has changed my life over the past 3 years has been realizing that I have control over my own life.
Yep.
And it sounds so stupid. It's of course you have control over your own life.
Yeah.
But people blame society. They blame their boss. They blame their dad, their mom. They blame school. They blame that they grew up in whatever lower middle class. They blame external factors when really you are your own creation and you have God in you. And I'm not even really religious. I'm very spiritual now. And you have the ability to change your life however you want. You don't like your life, you can change it with a simple thought, with belief. Yep. So I read spiritual books like all up and down the world. And one of my favorite book is The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy.
Okay. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
My favorite book. And then I have Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill next to me now. And I've, I've read that one then physically, but I do a lot of audiobooks because I have kids and my time to read or consume information is at night when everyone's asleep.
Right.
But I still sleep next to my 5-year-old and my husband, and they like to go to sleep and they don't want to see my glowing light on my phone. Right. So I audiobook.
Right. Smart.
For hours. Yeah. And YouTube. And so I have some YouTube, friends online that I listen to as well. And one of them is my good friend, Michael Zuber, One Rental at a Time. He's amazing. I'm a weekly guest now on his YouTube show. And awesome. He's great. So my favorite people to pay attention to are ones that are realistic. They are not pie in the sky. They're not my way is the best way as far as real estate strategies. Right. And they really are genuinely out to help people.
Right.
And I can smell them a mile away. Right. So I like to smell those people. Right. So as far as real estate content, I do listen to a few guys on YouTube for their daily news advice. Michael Zuber is one of them, One Rental at a Time. Give him the shout out that he deserves.
There he is.
Otherwise, I'm all about spirituality and learning about how to make myself a better person and believe in myself more and manifest and, all that weird stuff.
I agree. I think that's why we're here, right? Is to figure out the best form of ourselves. And, with me, part of it is real estate, but it's not the only thing, right? I also like to read Tom Clancy and I read self-improvement and I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins and, others. And, so it's a whole thing. Right. But you should listen to the Matt Faircloth book. It's actually really good. That's where I would start. And then Brendan Turner's book on managing rentals is one of the best. I do
have that one next to my bed.
Yeah.
But I have read a little bit. But I know, because I'm like, I should read that one. I self-manage. I got my systems down, but I should read it. I know I should, but I'm like, but my subconscious mind books are calling me.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's fine too, right? You got to do both. So
yeah, I do.
If you're drawn to a particular book, then read that book. You're not going to do yourself a disservice by learning new things, whether it's state of
another book that actually I did read one. Well, Alex Hormozy, I really like his book. His book's really good. He's a very, very inspirational. And then Jason Drees.
I don't know that one.
Okay. His book, something that's red and it's something about impossible on it. Very good.
Okay. I'll look it up. DR.
Yeah, he's a performance coach.
Okay. Oh, I know Jason. So I don't know him, but I know who he is. So I met him through Bigger Pockets, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a coach for Brandon Turner.
That's why I know the name. All right. Gotcha. Cool. All right. So let me ask you one last question and then we're going to wrap up. So, obviously you're well on your way to building your empire, right? Whatever that looks like in the future to be determined, right? But So let me ask you something. If some wise guy in Connecticut named Ed waved a magic wand and took it all away from you, other than the people you know and the knowledge you have, how would you start over?
I would take my knowledge and start another online business like I have with my coaching company.
Right? Awesome.
Now that I've learned how to do that, and that's what my sister teaches, that's how I learned how, is she teaches how to create an online business.
Nice.
Now that I have this skill, I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, you realize if shit hits the fan or whatever, if everything was taken from us, we'd be just fine.
You're bulletproof.
Because I could start all over again.
Right.
And I know how to do it. And all I need is me.
And a laptop.
Yeah, and a laptop, some internet connection, maybe some French fries from McDonald's or something.
A little bit of coffee. So, all right. Well, hey, Casey, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. First off, congratulations on all your success. I'm really excited for you. And, but I am curious about something. So when you're not conquering the real estate world, what do you and Blake and the kids, what do you like to do?
Oh, we love camping.
Awesome.
We love it. So we used to camp all the time in California when there was no mosquitoes and dry heat. Right. Now in Tennessee, we get, humidity and mosquitoes, and that becomes not so fun. So we bought a travel trailer last year. Nice. And it's been amazing. Now, unfortunately, the best time to go camping is during baseball season, and both of my boys are in baseball, so the weekends are full. Yep. But we have taken advantage of it already so many times. We just love being in nature. We love the mountains. There's no mountains here, but we do miss that. We love taking hikes and going camping and sitting out by the fire with a beer. That's, to us, awesome. That's living the life.
It is. And you know what? Those are the things that your kids are going to look back on 30 years from now and go, that was good. That was good stuff. Right.
We love it. No technology. Yeah. We love it when there's no internet.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Casey, if somebody wants to learn more about your business in terms of your investing business or your coaching program, Success with Rental Properties, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. So you can definitely go to my website, brickbybrickwealth.com. You can find my freebies. I have a lot of free download information available for beginners, as well as a video on my coaching program, Success with Rental Properties. There's a button somewhere all over my site. I'm sure you can click that to get more information on that.
Awesome.
But you can find me there on my Instagram all the time, Brick by Brick Wealth.
Okay, cool. So if you're out there and you're looking to get into the rental business, we just met somebody who's going to hold your hand, to throw an arm around you, and maybe grab you by the neck if you don't follow through, which is a good thing, right?
You got it.
So awesome. Well, Casey, thank you so much for your time today. It was really good to see you, and I wish you well. Obviously, we'll keep in touch, but for now, good to see you. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All right. This has been the Real Estate Underground Podcast, a Clark Street Capital presentation. Thanks for joining us. If you're enjoying the show, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends. If you'd like to learn more about Clark Street Capital and our upcoming projects, please join our investor club at clarkst.com/join. Until next time, happy investing. This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.